Hello, hi fourth graders. It's Miss Pluggy. Welcome to the first video that we're going to be doing when you guys are at home here and out of school. We're going to be trying to do one drawing video a week, and I would love it if you were able to work along with me at home with whatever art supplies you have available. We're going to try to keep the project simple and just use basic art tools, things like pencil, paper, erasers, maybe some crayons and markers, but I'm going to try to keep it pretty simple for you, okay? So I'm going to have you guys work along with me. First, I'm going to show you some pictures, and then I will kind of show you step by step how we're going to make our drawings. All right, so you can see on the title page here, it says drawing a street with linear perspective. And a couple of those words are pretty big, but it says drawing a street. So we're gonna be drawing a street scene, okay? And we're gonna use a special drawing technique called linear perspective. And it's a special technique that have been used by artists for a long time all over the world. And you can see here it says linear perspective is a technique used by artists to create the illusion of depth and space. Okay, so if you look at this picture on your screen, you can see it's a street scene. You can see the street, and if you watch my cursor here, you can see that the lines of the street, they angle in, they get closer and closer together the farther they go back, and that gives you that illusion that it's going back into space, because objects that are farther away from you look smaller. So this street, which is really wide up here at the front, gets skinnier and skinnier as it goes back till it disappears right here at this point back here. Other objects in the picture, like the buildings that are along the street, they're really tall right here where they're close to you. But as they go back, you can see here they get shorter and shorter and shorter as they also go back into space. The tree that's closest to you in the picture is nice and tall right here, and this tree right here is a lot shorter. And if you were to draw a tree way back here in the back of your picture, it would be even smaller still. Okay, so those are the tricks. It's called linear perspective, so it makes like your picture, makes it look like your picture has depth and has space. So to do this, you have to usually have a vanishing point, a part of your picture where all the lines kind of go towards, and then you have to have a horizon line, which is the line that kind of separates the sky from the ground, and it kind of divides the picture up. And all of the objects have to get smaller as they go back. So I'm going to kind of show you guys how we're going to be doing this. So if you look at this photograph right here, here's a photograph of a real road, okay, and it's in the mountains. And you can see that the road, as it goes back, it gets skinnier and skinnier, okay? And that's how your eye sees it in real life. And if you were to draw a road in a cartoon, you could have the road not just be where you're standing in the middle of the road looking down the road, but you could have it get smaller and smaller as it goes back, but it also could curve and it could loop-de-loop, it could go over hills and down into valleys, but the furthest the road that goes back, it gets narrower and narrower back here. So it's still skinnier back here than it is up here in the front of the picture. So this is kind of the picture that we're going to do right here. It's going to be a picture of a street scene. We're going to have a couple of sidewalks on the side. We're going to have some trees. We're going to have some mountains. And I think we're going to try to do a couple of buildings on one side of the picture. And I know this might be a little bit more of a challenge for you fourth graders, but I think it's doable. I think you guys can all do this. So we are going to start our drawing, and our drawings are going to look a bit like this. Okay, so you can see we've got a road, we've got a sidewalk that's going to go back, and we have a line of trees over here, and then we have our buildings. We've even got some mountains up here, and maybe make a sky. So you're going to start off with a white piece of paper. So you're going to need to find a white piece of paper. Now you can find construction paper, sketchbook paper. You could find typing paper or printer paper. You could, if you had your own sketchbook, you can use that. You're also going to need to find, fourth graders, a pencil and an eraser, okay? And if you can find a ruler, that would be great. If you can't find a ruler, you could use something that has a straight edge. So here's like a textbook. So you could use the edge of your textbook to be able to make your straight edges, your lines on your paper, okay? So you're going to need to pause the video and make sure that you get a pencil, a paper, a ruler or something to make a straight edge, and then probably an eraser, a good eraser to have. Okay, and I've got this one here. Okay, now on your white piece of paper, you're going to make a vanishing point, a dot, right in the middle of the paper, right towards the top. So I'm going to make a dot right here. This is going to be your vanishing point, and it doesn't have to be perfectly in the middle of your paper. You want to have a bit of room above it because that's going to be the sky, but it can be kind of towards the top a little bit, right in the center of your paper. Okay, then what you're going to do after you've made your dot, okay, is you're going to, and let me take this away, you're going to take your ruler and you're going to lay it on the dot and you're going to bring it over to a corner of your paper. Okay, so I'm going to bring it right to the corner and I'm going to make a line between your dot and a corner of the paper, just like that. Okay, and then you're going to do it on the other side. You're going to put your ruler right on that dot and bring it down to the other corner of your paper. And you're going to make another line just like that. So your paper will look like there's a big triangle right at the bottom. Okay, so I'll let you guys do that. If you need to pause the video while you're doing that, then you certainly can, and then start me back up again. But you've got to make the dot in the center, and then you got to make a line from the dot over to one corner and from the dot over to the other corner. Okay, now this is going to be the outside edges of your road and your sidewalk, so we now have to make the sidewalks. So I'm going to put my ruler on the dot again. So I'm setting it so you can see the dot right there. And then I'm going to move this down. So there's a little sliver right here, this little sliver. This is going to be my sidewalk. So I don't want it too wide. I don't want a really wide sidewalk. I want it to be kind of narrow. So I'm just going to put my ruler right here and I'm going to make another line from that dot. I'm putting my pencil right on the dot and I'm bringing it down to this edge of my paper so you can see that. So it'll come down, it'll hit down here at the bottom of the paper in like an inch or two in on the bottom of the edge of the paper. Okay, then I'm going to put my ruler on the other side, right on the dot. So I make sure my ruler's on the dot. And then I'm going to try to make the sliver that's over here about the same width as the one over there. So I want them about the same width. You don't have to measure, but you're just kind of eyeballing it and trying to make it about the same width. You don't want to have one sidewalk really fat and then one sidewalk really, really skinny. Okay, you want them about the same width. So I kind of look to see if I got that about the same width. And then I'm going to draw a line like that. So your paper should look like this. So everybody go ahead and do that. Okay. Now you're going to come in and you're going to set your ruler on the dot again. This is the vanishing point. And you're going to come in just a sliver inside of your sidewalk line. So there's my sidewalk line and I'm going to come in just a little bit and I'll show you what I mean by this. I'm going to draw one more line and it's going to create a tiny little sliver right there. If you can see that little sliver, okay, it's going to be really skinny. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just a tiny little sliver that I'm going to do there. And I'm putting my pencil right on my vanishing point, right on that dot, and I'm bringing it down to the end of the paper. And so it'll look like this, okay? So you've drawn 3 lines on each side. So you've drawn 1, 2, 3 lines on this side, 1, 2, 3 lines on this side, all going from your vanishing point, that dot in the middle of your paper, down to the sides of your paper, okay? Now we want to make some lines going across your sidewalk. But what you need to do is you need to line up your ruler so it goes straight across your paper. So I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm going to put my ruler right on the edge of my paper, and I'm going to make sure that it's lined up with the edge of my paper. Okay, so the end of it is right here at the edge of my paper, and I'm going to bring it down here so it goes straight across. And I'm going to make a line just on these wide parts. Okay, a line that goes straight across my paper. So it might be easier for you to see me do this, and then you can kind of figure it out. So I just drew 2 lines going straight across, okay? Then I'm going to move my ruler up because these are the little sections of the sidewalk. I make sure I line my ruler up right over here with my edge of my paper, and I'm going to move up just a little bit, and I'm going to put my ruler straight across my paper, and I'm going to make 2 lines here and here. Okay, and I'll move my ruler so you guys can see that. So that's 2 more lines going straight across. Okay, they're going side to side, straight across my paper. Okay, and I'm going to make a couple of more of those lines. I'm going to move up just a little bit. And each time I do that, I'm going to make the sections a little smaller. And I'll show you what I mean by that. I'll do a couple of these so you guys can see what I mean by that. Because as they go back into space, it'll look like they're smaller. They'll get smaller, but till they kind of disappear away from you because they're too far away for you to see. And I'm trying to keep my ruler as straight across my paper as I can. But if yours kind of is a little crooked, that's okay too. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys that. So see how the sections down here are pretty wide, and as I get back here, it gets smaller, but all I'm doing is making lines straight across my paper with my ruler, straight across my paper. The only section I'm making lines in, though, are these wider triangles right here. I'm not making the lines here in this little thin section. Okay, I'm only making them here on the fatter section. Okay, so I'm going to have you guys stop or pause the video and do that for me. Okay, and now the next step is to put your ruler straight down the middle of your road. This is your road here, and just to show you what I'm looking for is I want to have lines going down the middle of my picture that start off really long, and as they go back they get shorter and shorter and shorter. Okay, and what I mean by that is, if I show you my picture that I already drew here, okay, see how the lines in the front are pretty long, these dashed lines, and then as they go back they get smaller and smaller and smaller until they kind of get dots and disappear. So on my paper I'm going to put my ruler right through the center of my road, coming straight down. Try to make it as straight up and down as you can. It's okay if it's not perfect. Okay, and then up here or down here at the bottom, I'm going to make a couple of long dashes. And then as I go back, I'm going to make shorter, 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 dot, 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 till it disappears. So see that? I'm going to hold that up really close for you. So see how the lines start off long, shorter, 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 and they get kind of like turns into dots and kind of disappears there. So I'm going to set that down and have you guys do that. So you put your ruler right down the center of your picture, right down the center of the street, and you line your ruler up with that vanishing point right there in the middle, and then you're going to make your lines going right down the road, shorter and shorter and shorter. Okay, so it looks like it's a road going back into space. Give you a minute to do that. Okay, now I'm going to go on this side of my paper. Actually, I'll go on this side of my paper, and I'm going to draw 3 trees. Okay, 3 trees. Now remember, if you are still trying to work on the first part or this line here, pause the video so that you can catch up. Okay, you can even replay parts of the video if you need to re-watch what I just did. But I'm going to show you the next step. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to draw close to the bottom here, right beside the sidewalk. I'm going to draw the letter Y, nice and big. Okay, just like that. Okay, see how the letter Y is straight up and down? Okay, then I haven't finished off the tops because this has become a tree. This is like the tree trunk. It's fatter here, it's a little skinnier here. Then I'm going to take, and my pencil, I'm going to make the leaves nice and big. Look at how big this tree is. It's nice and big right here. Fills this whole side of my paper. Okay, so this is the tree closest to you, and I just use the letter Y to make it. Then I'm going to move back here just a little ways. I'll make another letter Y. It might even be partially covered up here by the first tree. Okay, there's another Y. And I'm going to also make, but it's going to be smaller. It might even disappear into the first tree. It hits, if you can see here, it kind of knocks into it right there. Okay, so you use the letter Y, and then you kind of that cloud thing where you're kind of going bump, 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 bump. Okay, to make a nice big, that's the leaves of the tree. If you notice though, the second tree, and it's shorter than the first tree. The first tree is pretty tall. And then we're going to draw one more tree back here, and we're going to make it pretty little. Okay, so my little Y is pretty small right there. And I'm going to do the same thing to make the branches, but it's going to be smaller. And it also might disappear right into this one. Okay, so there's my third tree. And as they go back, they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay, and I'll have you guys do that. So you've got 3 trees on the side of the road right over here. Okay, if you need to pause the video so you can kind of catch up, you can. On the bottom of my tree, I might even go like this, at the bottom, like it's the tree roots going down into the ground. This might be a little park over here. I might even draw a couple of little paths coming off of here. These are a little walking path or biking path, a little trail that goes over here. Okay, and maybe that's a trail that goes off underneath the trees over here. And it kind of disappears underneath the trees. And this is a little trail. Okay. Now over on this side, we're going to draw a building. Okay. So if you need to pause the video to finish the trees, you can do that. But right now I'm going to show you the next step, which is to make, I think we're going to make 2 buildings right here. Okay. So the first step to making the building is on this side, I'm going to draw a line straight up and down. Okay, so I'm going to put, and it's got to be pretty close to this side of your paper. Okay, so I'm going to draw a vertical line. That's a line that goes straight up and down. Okay, just like that. Now you should still be able to see the bottom of it and the top of it. Don't have it go all the way up to the top of the paper, or don't have it come down and touch the sidewalk. Make sure there's a little bit of line. So you're drawing a straight up and down line. It's called a vertical line. And you're just putting your ruler on the paper. Or if you don't have a ruler, you could use a book or something. And you're just going to make a straight up and down line. Okay. And that's going to be the corner of my building. Now, because it's going back into space, I want the top and the bottom to go towards this vanishing point. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my ruler right on that vanishing point. Okay, so that dot that you guys made, and I'm going to bring a line from the bottom of this line that we made, this vertical line here. I'm going to draw a line towards that vanishing point. I'm not going to go all the way back. I'm just going to draw it a little ways back, but I want to make sure my ruler is sitting on that dot. So I'm going to go like this. Okay, I'll take that off there so you can see that, so you can kind of see. Now I'm going to do, I did that at the bottom of that vertical line, the straight up and down line. And now I'm going to do it from the top. Okay, so I'm going to set my ruler up here at the top of my line that I drew. And I'm going to put the other end of the ruler, this end of the ruler, right on that dot. Okay, so my ruler is on the dot. And then it's on the top of my line I did, and I'm going to draw a line back, just a little ways back, about the same length as the one that I did on the bottom. So just to show you guys that, it looks like this. Okay, so I'll have you guys do that. If you need to re-watch me doing that, you can. But just remember, it's a straight up and down line. And then you're going to draw a line from the top towards the vanishing point and from the bottom towards the vanishing point. But just go back a couple inches and then stop. Go back a couple inches and then stop. Okay? Now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to set it vertical, straight up and down again. And I'm going to draw a line between these the two lines that I made right here. So I'm going to put my ruler straight up and down. So my ruler is going straight up and down. And I'm going to draw a line. And it's okay if they don't meet up exactly. Mine did pretty good there, actually. So I drew it from this down to this. Okay. So I'll have you guys do that. So you're just going to put your ruler on your paper straight up and down and draw a line right from top to the bottom and stop. Okay. Now to finish my building, because right now you probably are like, well, that's kind of a weird building. Okay. You now have to draw a line straight side to side. I'm going to kind of move my paper over so you can see this. Side to side, I'm going to put my ruler right here on the bottom of that line, that first line that I drew. And I'm going to draw a line from the bottom of that line straight over to the edge of my paper. So I'm going to kind of line my ruler up here straight across and go like that. So I just drew it from here to the edge of my paper. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the top of that line that I drew. So I'm going to put my ruler up here straight across my paper, nice and straight across. And then I'm going to take my pencil and draw a line from the top of that line over to the side of my paper. So you guys see how it looks now? It looks like a building, and this is one side of the building, and this is the other side. Okay. Now you guys can add, there's lots of different ways to do this, but you guys could add some windows in here. Okay. You could add a doorway here. Okay. You can add some windows and doors on here. This could be, you could put a sign on here, but we're going to do a second building back here. Now the second building is further away from us, so it's going to be a little smaller. Okay, so if you need to finish this first building, pause the video or rewind it and watch me again if you need a little extra help. Okay, and it's okay if you don't get everything, if you don't catch everything, but just do your best. Okay. So right now I'm going to show you how to draw a second building. We're going to start it exactly the same way we did the first building. We're going to put our ruler straight up and down on our paper. Okay. We're going to draw a line, a vertical line straight up and down right back here. So just to show you, we're starting our building with a straight up and down line. Okay. And it's, see how shorter it is though, how much smaller it is than the first line that we started. Okay. Now we're going to take and make a line from the top and the bottom of this line. So that from the bottom and the top here, back to the vanishing point. So I'm going to set my ruler on the vanishing point and on the bottom of my line. Okay, and I'm going to draw a line back just about an inch, not all the way back. So I just did that. And then I'm going to put it right at the top of my line. And I'm going to bring my ruler down to that little dot, that vanishing point. So I've lined it up there. And I'm also going to draw a line back just a little ways. So it looks like that. Okay. So I took a line from the top towards that dot and from the bottom towards that dot. Okay. Now to stop my building back in space here, I need to make another straight up and down line. Okay, so I'm going to turn my ruler straight up and down again, and I'm going to draw a line between these two spots. Now this one I might have to erase a little bit back here. Okay, but that's one side of my building. Now to finish this side of my building over here, I'm going to put my ruler side to side, and I'm going to line it up with the bottom of this first line that I drew here, and go straight off to the side again. Side to side, my ruler is sitting side to side. This is called a horizontal line. Okay. So there's the bottom of that building on that side. Then I'm going to go to the top of that corner. And I'm also going to draw another line straight over till I hit that first building that I drew. Kind of runs right into that first building. Okay, so now I have two buildings right here. And maybe on this building, there is another doorway up here. And maybe there's a couple windows. Okay. Now, way back here in the distance, and let me see if I can zoom in on this for you. Okay, way back here, I'm going to take my ruler, and right through that vanishing point, I'm going to make a line straight across till I run into my trees and I run into my buildings right there. That's my horizon line. And then behind here, I'm going to make some big mountains. So behind my buildings, let's say that there's mountains way back in the distance, but they're pretty big still. So I'm going to make a jaggedy line. And it might disappear down into my trees right here. Maybe they reappear. Maybe there's another mountain up here before it disappears again. Maybe it reappears over here. Maybe there's another tall mountain here. So maybe these are like the Rocky Mountains and they're really tall. And on the tops of some of the peaks, the tops of some of the really tall peaks, I may make a little bit of snow across some of these peaks. Make a wiggly little line up here. Okay, so there's some of my mountains that are way off in the distance. Now, you guys have drawn a street, okay, with sidewalks, with a center line right here. Hopefully you were able to follow along with the buildings. They're a little harder, so if you had trouble with them, I can understand that. And then hopefully you were able to draw some trees, okay? Now this is a pretty challenging drawing assignment, but what you can do now is if you have at home some crayons, or if you have some markers, okay, or colored pencils, you can color in your drawing. You could add some people walking. You could add a car parked right over here, or somebody driving their car along the road. You could make some signs. You could color your trees green and the grass and the road, whatever you want to do to add to your picture. That would be wonderful. And I would love to be able to see these when we were able to get back together when school starts again. I would love to be able to see some of your drawings that you've done at home. And these are your linear perspective street scenes.